Signs of the Southland, late one on Monday, May 27th, 2024. Gentlemen, Jack Purdy, Jake Grant, Akshay Shwaran here with you to recap what has been a momentous day in Georgia Tech athletics history. Hiroshi Tai, sophomore, has claimed the NCAA Men's Golf Individual Championship for 2024. Gents, how are you feeling? It's the first silverware, well, goldware, technically. I don't know. I don't know how this works. For Tech since 2007, and it's women's tennis team title in that year.
There's a bug flying around my house, so if you just heard a large smack, it's because we're doing this on the fly. That's the best way to do a recording.
Boo. Bad pun.
He
Bad
got one
pun.
in so early. Jake, I'll let you go first because you got here before me. So
like to the school, you're saying?
You've been waiting for a title longer than I've been waiting for one.
Oh man, I mean, if it was gonna come from somebody, I feel like every year we're like, this golf team, just keep an eye on them. And then what do they do? Because and what do I say? They're only ever on TV like the one time. But given that our Slack was blowing up with this being in the mix, I don't think it's any surprise that it's golf that finally comes across. I think it's well earned. It's hard earned. I know that of course in the Hepler era, Troy did get his about 2 decades ago, but I don't know. They quietly take care of business. I'm proud of them. It's a great way to end the year. And what did I say? I think last week they're like running out of time to get the crown. What do you know?
Right. They did it.
They saved the best. They saved the best for last. And that's I don't know. It's vindicating to see the team that just is workmanlike, has built a great program, recruits great. Makes do with. There's no on-campus golf course. You got to do what you got to do with the hand you're dealt. There's been a nice, modest little investment in getting them the basics over on 14th. They make do with the rest. I don't know. It feels like I'm speaking in cliches, but yeah, if somebody was going to get it, this team deserved it. And Hiroshi Tai, of course, with his commitment to his service and coming back and picking things up from there is a great story. This team's had a perfect APR to boot for years now too. You can't ask for a better model of what it means to be Georgia Tech athletes. And you know what? And they came so close last year, and it was a lot of fun to see them, get to do it in full this year. So
I think you're spot on. Like, this team has set themselves up better than just about any other team on campus to do this. And it wasn't Christo, which I'm not trying to remove from Hiroshi. Like, Hiroshi's been fantastic and absolutely been one of our main weapons all season. But I mean, if you ask anybody who's been watching golf this last year and a half, they'd be like, yeah, Christo's hands down a big time favorite to win this very particular event or any event he plays his way in. And he got hurt. He didn't play the last 3 rounds of this tournament. He pulled out with a back injury. Played the first round. I think it was 2 over 200, like not that far out for a very hard course. Like, in the team event, one team finished
a hard course that literally no one's gotten to play because they just renovated it too.
Right. This is a brand new course for everybody. Like, we finished 25 over as a team to qualify for the team part, but Illinois finished 6 under somehow. Like, just one team figured it out, but everybody else was well over par. And Hiroshi managed to finish the entire thing 3 under par. It's truly incredible. No, I mean, this has been the team that should have gotten one. They should have got one last year. Like, we talked about this plenty last year. How Ross was.
They should have gotten one in 2020. I'm still mad about that.
Right, I know. They in terms of a team, if there was a Georgia Tech team that was due for one, it was them, and they got it.
And they're still playing, right? Yeah, you got a lane, you got a chance.
They got a lane, they got a chance. I mean, this was. I feel like one of us mentioned, like, last week, the individual way was probably the best shot we had to get one. Just because team-wise, we haven't been as well-rounded as we were last year. So it was going to take something like this.
But you guys have also done a great job of reiterating they can punch up, and that's what they just did.
And they did.
They made it to the final 8. Like, this is about all you can ask for, is being in the mix on the last 2 days of play.
They
3
did.
days of play.
No, they absolutely did. Actually, do you want to go through the scores? Or do you want me to go through the scores?
No, I was waiting for both of you to finish, but I can go through the scores here. I actually want to set up the timeline here because I'm sure a lot of folks, one, did not stay up late on the East Coast to watch the Golf Channel coverage because this was in
This is late.
Carlsbad,
It's late.
California.
Yeah, this is the rare 10 o'clock ending to a golf tournament in general, Eastern time.
Fascinating theater, by the way. For someone that doesn't watch golf that often, the last like 3 or 4 hours has been pretty fascinating theater. So for the folks that weren't following along either online or via Twitter or via the actual Golf Channel coverage, let's set the mood, let's set the scene. We've kind of told you where we ended, but let's kind of talk about where we've been. So Hiroshi Tai starts the morning 3 back of the lead for the individual championship. I think the leader at the time was Gordon Sargent, who's had a pretty nice day himself as well, and he was part of the in the mix until the very end. And so Hiroshi battles, right? Like he starts on the back 9 and he's cooking with gas. He posts birdie, 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 birdie. I think that's 6 in a row. And I think actually, is it birdies or is it no, it's birdies, birdie, par, 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 another birdie, par, par. And he does not bogey and has not bogeyed in the entire round, and not just in round 4 today, but he hadn't bogeyed at all in the last 2 days since round 2.
Right.
And
yeah.
when it finally came together, towards the end of his run, he was at 6 under. He was 2 holes away from posting, and he was well ahead of any of his challengers, even the ones that were still finishing up early in the back after the turn. Those like Gordon Sargent and Ben James and the like. And he has a really rough time on hole 8. Like I said, they started on the back 9. He finished up on the front 9. He had a really rough time on hole 8. He tripled that and then made a really good par save on 9 to finish up his round. And he was at 3 under for what felt like forever. He posted, I don't have a time here, but at least 2 hours ago.
They said it was like about 90 minutes and change since he finished, between Ty's round finishing and the ends of Sargent and Ben James finishing their hole.
Right. So about like not 90 minutes to 2 hours of him just sitting. He can't do anything. He can't change.
Well, he was on the driving range when they found him after.
At some point he put in AirPods. He went out to the range with one of the other, after everyone had finished their rounds, with one of his teammates, he went out to the driving range and just kind of hung out there, just hitting balls. But for the rest of us stuck at home watching this Golf Channel coverage on TV, riveting drama as the field behind him at 2 under expanded to as many as like 6 guys at one point.
Yep.
6 or 8 guys. And then as we got closer and closer to the end, you started to see guys fall away. Auburn's Jackson Coyven had a really good charge at the end, and he got foiled on 18 by hitting the pin straight on and the ball bouncing back into the bunker. Luke Clanton had a really good round late on there. A Florida State Luke Clanton, and he just couldn't make a birdie putt near the end in order to tie and take a share of the lead. Illinois' Max Herendeen posted he was 2 under on the day, or 2 under on the entire tournament, and part of a team that had gone under par for the entire tournament. On this course, on a very, very difficult course. And he got it to the last hole where he had a tough shot, but a shot that we've seen some people make for eagle to potentially tie and take a shared lead. And then Gordon Sargent had a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of near misses on birdie putts all day through his back 9. And the same thing for Ben James of Virginia. Gordon Sargent of Vanderbilt and Ben James of Virginia, by the way, who were in the last pairing with Illinois. So it really, he lasted. Hiroshi ties of 3 under lasted for the better part of 2 hours, and there were a couple people that tied him. Palmer Jackson is another name that I mentioned, an individual participant from Notre Dame. So a couple people that tied him in and out, but no one could shake him from that lead, and he ended up being the last guy standing. So congrats to him. I mean, congrats to Coach Hepler and their staff for doing such a good job with managing the stroke play part of this competition. And Tech enters match play tomorrow, I guess today, when you hear this on the 28th, as the 8th seed, which, to be fair, there's also some drama with that, as ties ups and downs on 8 also coincided with Tech falling out of the top 8 for match play, but we can talk about that in a longer podcast at some other point.
Falling from 7th, like they were 7th and they fell to 8th.
Fell to 9th, right?
They're in. They're in. They're in.
No.
But they were out of the field for a minute there.
Okay.
It might have been as low as 10th, or maybe it was tie 9th.
I mean, they only made it by a
they
shot.
Got down
so
to 9th, and then OU posted, and they had a really rough time on 18 as well. And then Florida imploded down the stretch, like a lot of struggles finishing on. I think they finished on the front 9 too. Just a lot of struggles there.
I'm not mad
as well for them. Not mad, but it is to be mentioned. But I'm trying to wrap this up. Tech is the 8th seed heading into match play. They'll face off against Illinois, that of Max Herendeen, who we spoke about earlier, and an Illinois team that was the only team to finish under par on the weekend.
But who also lost in the quarters as the 1 seed last year, I believe, if I recall correctly. So thanks to Florida,
can happen.
We finally got that implosion that we were all hoping for about a year ago today. I have one comment that is a non sequitur, but it needs to be said. Put the hat with the T, the Tech on the T, and the vest. The Ramblin' Wreck on the vest would print money. It would print money.
Okay, let me take it one step further.
In fact, I looked at the replies to the tweets we've been putting it out, and that is the main thing that I've seen in reviewing the replies to those tweets.
Yes.
So, Rob, I don't know if you listen to this. I don't know that we've ever met, but I appreciate you. You are seen, and I agree. There we go. How's that?
I'll raise you one, because they should also put the golf buzz polo on for sale too, because that I would buy. That little mascot is saying, I do believe, and maybe this is where we can segue into our sponsor read, Mr. Grant. I do believe Section 103 is voting on a golf buzz shirt, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. There is one. It's option C right now. I feel like I've seen another 1 or 2 of those out there in the ether. I don't know. The poll options change sometimes. But yes, they're all great options. As would be nice, though, it would be great to see a Georgia Tech golf related option out there. But that's the beauty of democracy. You can have your voice be heard. Show Section 103 that there's demand for those golf shirts, and surely that will help them out there. Section103.com and at Section 103 on Twitter as well. Use code FTRS, 10% off. Tell them we sent you. Akshay, I gotta ask, why are you in the dark?
Look, it's 10 o'clock at night. This golf tournament has decided to take forever to finish up. I thought we'd be done at like 8 o'clock. Like
West Coast golf.
I did not realize that we still had 2 hours of golf left.
West Coast golf is a fun time when you don't realize it doesn't end when it gets dark outside on the East Coast. It's that do be how that goes. I want to mention
I'm just exhausted after the emotional roller coaster that was that entire tournament.
I want to mention
let alone hole 18 too. But anyways,
yeah, 18 as well. I want to mention one little bit, like we've been mentioning, that just the general bent of Tech's athletic prowess has pointed up since Bat got here, and oh boy, does this help his case a lot in terms of just the general success of Tech, because you can't do any better than a literal national championship. So Just put one in the cap there, I think. I think you put one in the
Jack,
cap there. I'm going to put one.
I
I'm
gotta
putting one in this
say,
cap.
Hiroshi got here before J Bat got here. Bruce Hepler got here before like 5 ADs in a row got here. Noonan Golf Center, it already existed. I feel the energy you're giving out, and I want to emphasize that energy. But I do want to say that
that's, well, I mean, like, that stuff carries through to the rest of the campus, though. And
it does. It does. I agree.
That's the big thing here, is that helps everybody. This helps everybody at Georgia Tech winning this.
And this is a logical transition to our other main point of emergency podcasting. Georgia Tech baseball is going dancing.
Yeah.
Dare I say, this is a lot of positive emotion for one day for Georgia Tech sports.
Seriously,
is it not?
Yeah. No, it is. Like, we were not expecting to make the field this morning, I think. I mean, we knew we were bubble. Like, we knew we were bubble. At worst, we were like one of the first few teams that weren't going to make it based on everything else. But at best, we were in and probably playing a team we didn't want to play in either East Carolina, Tennessee, or Georgia. Sure enough, we got Georgia, but we're still in, which I think says a lot to the fact that we saw them win a lot of important games, lose some baffling games at the same time, and generally allow a lot of runs over the last haul of the last 10, 15 games, and get run roll in the ACC tournament in their second game, but they're still here. They're not done. I was really worried this morning that today was the final day of the athletics season. And in the end, we got a national championship and at least 2 more baseball games.
And at least one more day of golf.
Right. Yeah.
So here's the regional as it breaks down. Tech, as Jack said, is headed to Athens. They'll play Athens, who's the 1 seed and the number 7 national seed. The 2 is UNC Wilmington. And the 4 is Army. Athens is 39-15 on the season with a 17-14 conference record. The number 6 RPI and the 11th overall strength of schedule. Tech has the 49th RPI, 25th strength of schedule. Some stats provided by a news site that I found called Friday Starters, by the way, who has a lot of good organized spreadsheets for college baseball that I really appreciate. If you look at Athens and Tech's pitching numbers, you'll find that the ranks for these are shockingly similar, other than the K percentage, which I guess is an important part of pitching, but I digress. Runs allowed per 9 innings, 106th for Athens, 170th for Tech. ERA for Athens is ranked 113th. For Tech, it's 207th, maybe less similar there. But to the point, Athens' average pitching ERA is 5.7, Tech's is 6.6. So, like, at the serving an overall point of they also give up a lot of runs, but Charlie Condon has bailed them out consistently, game over game, by hitting tank shots. So take that for what it's worth, right? Take that in your evaluation for what it's worth. Obviously, there are 2 other teams in this regional, and I think at some point before this kicks off, we should do a real proper preview. But this regional is kind of built narratively for one of these elimination games, be it in the regional final or what have you, for it to be a clean old-fashioned hate meetup, and we're just going to have to see where that road leads, right?
Jack, I know you know where I'm going with this.
Well, I was going to say
4 very wet innings.
We did.
Of a game that did not get finished.
No.
And this is a Georgia Tech team that played very tight in Athens at Foley Field the next day. After that, we could talk about Sunday and, not winning either of the 2 games that did wrap there. But, I mean, this is like the unfinished business regional of regionals.
I think that's a great way.
So.
I think it's a great way to put it. Yeah, this is unfinished business for sure. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Like, we weren't winning that game on campus here in Atlanta, but I think there's still some, like, we want to get another crack at them for sure. I also just finished my celebratory bourbon for Hiroshi tie winning. Thank you for giving me an excuse, Hiroshi. This narratively, this fits quite nicely. I'll admit. historically, I think they said we're 2-4 in Foley during the NCAA tournament. So at least one there. That's not nothing, I guess. Granted, that was many teams ago, not recently. Um, all I know is similarly to Mr. Condon, we have a guy who can hit a tank pretty frequently in Mr. Burris. So it's not the same level of bailing out, and Georgia has a better overall team to where Charlie put Charlie on top. It's pretty freaking lethal. But as I said in the past, like even if we allow 8 runs a game, even if we somehow allow just 6, that could be enough. That could be enough because we got multiple guys that can just smack one out, and Burris is right there at the top of the order.
Yeah. Well,
it's just a very interesting matchup, right? Like you have obviously the narrative built in to what a regional final or like a winner's bracket could look like, but there's just so many unknowns with what even these first round games could look like. And I honestly, not even considering the 1-4 game in this, I'm kind of writing that off. But even just like Tech versus UNC Wilmington, who's 39-19 on the season. I don't exactly remember what their bid situation is, but like they're the 2, Tech is the 3, and Tech has been known to leak runs to teams that are like, I mean, UNC Wilmington better record. Again, don't necessarily know their quality of team, but Tech has been known to leak runs to anyone. It does not matter who it is. Tech will spot them in 8 spot and before you know it, right? So I think, Jack, you're really spot on with if they can limit the damage and just sort of keep things under control in that first game, you're at least giving yourself a shot to head into the winner's bracket and get one of 2 potential cracks at your rival, right? And send them leave them at home and advance to your first super regional since 06.
I'm not in the business of carrying water for opposing teams. This is a Georgia Tech podcast. We are a Georgia Tech podcast. Just to give some context on UNC Wilmington, they are the Colonial champions. The CAA was quite a well-regarded league this year. They finished at 10th in adjusted RPI. Pretty good for a mid-major league. Not the best, of course, but right in the mix there with your kind of CUSA, Missouri Valley, SoCon, Big East, that kind of cut. They did win that conference. They were, I can't remember which seed in the tournament, but they were not the number 1. That would have been College of Charleston, who I thought was a pretty, solid at-large resume, bubble type team, and most, I would say, probably did there. They beat College of Charleston twice to win the CAA title. That is worth noting. They took very much care of business when it counted there. In terms of mutual opponents, they did have a game canceled against UNC. They beat NC State at NC State in 10 innings. They beat Wake Forest in Durham. I don't know why that game was in Durham. Go figure. But, if it was at DBAP, that's kind of cool, I guess. They also beat NC State at home. They got smacked 11-0 at North Carolina in the game that didn't get canceled there. They lost to Boston College 14-7. I believe that's all of the mutuals. So pretty good showing against common opponents there. But Georgia Tech did take care of business against NC State. So, maybe that's a wash, I guess. But yeah, they're pretty good. Obviously can't look past them. I know for a fact, based on what I've seen, that almost all the narrative is going to that 1-0 game or the potential 1-0 game. So all I'm here to say is you got to get there first. So
you do.
No, I agree. And I think to that point, it's like Tech will hand anyone an 8-run lead. Does not matter. It doesn't matter if it's Youngstown State or Athens. They will hand them an 8-run lead. And I think that's the danger, right? It's an interesting schedule thing too here, by the way. The Athens Army game is actually the first one up of the weekend on Friday. That's a 1 p.m. start on ESPN Plus, and then UNC Wilmington versus Tech is actually 7 p.m. On ESPN Plus as well.
Yeah.
So
why on earth did they do that?
Who knows? Who knows? But we have the night game. Yeah.
It's also interesting, and I'm not entirely sure how the home away situation works for these games anymore after our traumatic experience versus Auburn a couple years ago. And this may just actually be listed by seed, but they have the 1 listed, and then the 4, and then the 2, and then the 3 in that order.
I'd guess would be the road team to start. Just
I would
on
assume, but I don't know. With the seeding stuff has gotten weird and wacky. The seeding and the hosting and the helmet away.
I do want to say that I guess the kind of bubbly teams that we've been comparing ourselves to, a lot of those teams that we were kind of like, text right in the ballpark in, did wind up getting in. A notable exception being TCU. Tech profiled pretty similar to that based on the numbers, but it was a low bid stealing year, and may not have worked out how Tech wanted in Charlotte, but that's something I did want to mention. It seems to be a relatively uncontroversial inclusion as well. They played pretty well down the stretch, excluding this last, I guess, 5 days of competition that they had there. But that's again, it's a have a lane, have a chance, right? We said the same thing about golf, so I'm going to give baseball that same leeway.
And I think we mentioned before the pod, their KPI was a big thing that we hadn't necessarily we didn't really know how to factor it in too much, but they were high in that. They were higher in that than in RPI. And that played to their strengths a lot. Once it came to the committee time, and hey, they won some big series. Like they did a lot of things that many other teams did not do, which is beat ranked teams at home and on the road in sweeps and in 2-1 series wins. So that was not nothing. Like they had a lot of good wins that should build you a tournament profile. I'll also give Andrew Kloss and the SID a lot of props for pushing the narrative too. They were the institution made sure to get the word out, like, hey, we should be there. So that's I think that's not nothing.
To his and their credit, because I know we have, as a fan base, have shaken that tree pretty hard a lot. Not saying like me specifically, I don't usually get involved with that. I'm just a man on Twitter. They do not need my input. But like we've said that about volleyball and football bowls and everything under the sun from there. Gents, I've got one general conference note that I did see while I was perusing the internets before we logged on, if you'll allow it.
Yes.
ACC hosts. NC State gets South Carolina. Virginia gets Mississippi State. UNC gets LSU. Clemson gets Vandy. Florida State gets Bama. Seems like there's going to be a lot of potential for capital N narrative between our fellow conference mates and the Georgia Tech I guess goes to Athens, may be the flip side of that coin there, but I don't know. Lot of hosts with maybe some folks might be able to make some definitive statements based on how the narrative has gone around these two conferences this year. I don't know. Just me. Don't want to write too much into it, but just I guess a sicko's watch, if you will.
Something, yeah. I'll also note the Colonial. It's no longer the Colonial.
It's the Coastal now.
Yeah, it is. It is the not the ACC, but the CAA Coastal Athletic Conference.
Gotta call it the Coastal Atlantic Conference. That'll really show them.
Yeah. They're more Atlantic than we are now.
They really are. That's true. That's true.
Oh my God. Dumbest conference ever.
Just to
wrap up on.
Go ahead.
Up on baseball. The Athens regional feeds into the Raleigh regional. So the winner of our Tech's regional will head to will play against the winner of a group of NC State, South Carolina, James Madison, and Bryant University up in Raleigh.
James Madison also being one of those contemporary bubble teams there. So just what my last of my mental notes of check boxes of things that would be interesting.
That'd be a fun if somehow us and James Madison got out, that'd be a really fun series in the Supers.
Yeah.
Would not mind that in the slightest. I think it'd be super fun.
Of course, the challenge here is to actually get out of the regional, which I will remind you that Tech has not
lots of scary potentials. Lots of scary potentials here. We forgot to mention on the golf note that our past champions, because if you're from Atlanta, there's a fun name here. Troy Madison won in 2002. He was the first champion since 1934 that we had, which was Charlie Yates, which I imagine many of our Atlanta listeners have played at Charlie Yates. I was there on Saturday and ran into Aiden Burr at Charlie Yates, ironically. So weird coincidence there. And then Watts Gunn in 1927. Now a sport where we have 4 championships ranging from before a world war and into the modern era, akin to football. So fun little parody there, I guess.
Last couple notes as we wrap up for the night as well. Christo Lamprecht, despite not really factoring in this weekend because of a back injury, finished number 2 overall in the PGA Tour University rankings. That gets him a nice little Korn Ferry Tour bid in 2024. So congrats to him. I believe also Hiroshi Tai will pick up a Masters bid in 2025 as well with his victory in the individual championship. So congrats to him on that. Last note from the Georgia Tech sports ecosystem in transfer news for men's basketball, Miles Kelly is added to Auburn. And the Tech roster, I think, has gotten a couple more commits, a lot more transfer buzz this year. I think I saw somewhere it's a 12th overall transfer class. So interesting times. A roster in flux, but potentially one that could really break out this year. But obviously, we wish Miles Kelly the best in his endeavors at Auburn and under Bruce Pearl. Gentlemen, I think that is about it for us tonight. It is late. We wanted to go 20 minutes. It's now edging towards 40. Thank you.
This is what happens when we win a literal national championship, Akshay. We have a literal national championship coming home.
All right. I got one last mental note. If I ever become obscenely wealthy, I'm going to make a golf course, the Hiroshi Tai golf course, a la the Charlie Yates golf course. We got a Bobby Jones. You know, if I get way out there, Watts Gunn, Troy Matteson, everyone gets a golf course. That'd be funny.
Every single golfer from Georgia Tech history, golf course.
I don't know.
Every single one.
I don't know. The Matt Kuchar putt course is on its way.
I don't know if
Ross Steelman 9-hole course.
I don't know if the practice area they have next to IKEA actually is named after anybody yet.
Noonan.
So.
It is.
Noonan. Okay, it is. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know. Okay. All right, well, there you go. Well, hey, the Noonan Thai practice facility.
Yeah.
Would you say they would be tied for the naming rights?
Just tee off down McMillan Street. There's nothing down there, you know.
It's a road course. It's like the Vegas F1 course. It's a road course.
Amazing.
Street golf.
Dude, I'd play that video game. It's like NFL Street but with golf.
That'd be
I'd absolutely play that.
And that's how Akshay broke the window at Rocky Mountain Pizza. Perfect.
No comment.
They write themselves.
They really do. Jake, where can the people find us?
Yeah, as always, you can find us at FTRS blog on Twitter, fromtherumbleseat.com. Email us fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. We're going to have at least one more week of talking about some actual sports results, but summer is coming up. Let us know what you want to hear. But as always, email, comments on the site, Twitter. Those are probably the best places to find us to do that. But you can also find us at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at From the Rumble Seat. You can find Section 103 on Twitter and online at section103.com. Use code FTRS for 10% off. Tell them we sent you. We appreciate it. Thanks for the bridged episode, gents. Good night, good luck, and until we see you next time, go Jackets. Congrats again, Hiroshi.